Welcome back to Buck What You Heard. My name is Gene. You can reach me at Buck What You Heard. You follow me, I will follow you back on Twitter. I love Twitter. I mean, there's been some wild stuff going on, some different debates, angry Saints fans, angry Panther fans. Not that many of them, but even Falcon fans have decided that they want to throw their hat in the ring. If there's a ring to be thrown into for them, they just need to worry about rebuilding and make sure they have all the bricks they need to rebuild that house. But enough of my rambling. I'm joined tonight by my co-host KB. What's happening, KB? How you doing, man?
Not much. Apparently, I'm the Lightning's good luck charm. 2 games in Raleigh, 2 dubs.
There we go, man. Go Bolts. And special guest, familiar face. You know him. You love him. Michael Pless from Real Bucs Talk. How you doing, my friend?
Doing great, fellas. It's glad to be back on talking some football.
Man, we just get closer. We're inching closer and closer, but it feels like we're crawling because
everything. Day 98 until season starts.
Yes, just crawling at this slow snail's pace. But tonight we're gonna talk about something interesting. We're gonna start off with something I think is interesting, and we're gonna talk about those roster spots, those little eensy teensy spread out over the whole team roster spots. And, I know we've kind of touched on certain aspects when you talk about quarterback, when you talk about running back and, some of the other positions. There was a really cool article written by Evan Winter. If you ever get a chance to make sure you go out to Bucs Report, and that's bucksreport.com. There's some really cool written content. I don't think we really get to talk about it enough. I don't think it gets the love it deserves. Much like Michael Pless's Real Bucs Talk. If you get a chance to check out that live stream, please check it out. I do want to shout out Smack Apparel. We love you guys too for everything that you do. And, just kind of getting back to this article, who will win the Bucs open roster spots? And I thought this is a really cool article. And I think they, the way Evan wrote this was really cool. He came right out and we're talking about the quarterback position for starters. So, Plus, I'm going to start with you, and then I'll come to you, KB. Ryan Griffin has been a staple for Tampa for a very long time. What is it about him that makes him him so resilient, where he keeps coming back? And is it his potential, his upside? What are the Buccaneers seeing in him that make them want to bring him back and see what he can do?
Yeah, I think it's really just he's a good practice player. So he knows what the offense is, and he can help these younger guys develop. So that's really why they keep him around. Plus, he's cheap, and they know him, so it's familiarity with him as well. So, yeah, I mean, he's a guy that just sticks around. He's kind of like trying to think of a good comparison, Man, who's like a bench player all these years?
What's his name? Just got released by the 49ers. Played for the Bucs.
Yeah, Josh Johnson.
Johnson.
I mean, that's a perfect example. You could go to like basketball, like Pat Garrity.
Yeah,
he just sticks around. That's an old school name, but yeah, he's just that dude. And I think this year though, it's going to be time where he moves on either to the Bucs practice squad or he goes to a different team because of Kyle Trask.
Yeah. So with Blaine Gabbert in the fold, do you see him? And KB, I'm going to go to you. Is he your number 2?
I say he's QB3 this entire season. I mean, I think Trask is just going to be a red shirt this year. Let him get his feet wet, like in the preseason. I mean, if he plays well enough in the preseason to be QB2, great, we can have that conversation. But in the article you pulled up by Evan, I mean, Bruce Arians has basically called Blaine Gabbert the most underrated player in the NFL. If that doesn't scream QB2, I don't know what can. So Trask, just do what you can, learn, let the veterans battle it out for the backup spot for right now.
Yeah.
Take this year, learn, soak it all in. Next year, compete for Gabbert or Griffin's job. Probably going to be Gabbert, though.
Yeah. All right. Plus, any follow-up thoughts on that?
No, I agree with what Ken said. I mean, it's pretty much straightforward. I think, like you said, Gabbert's going to be number 2, and then Trask is going to be your third guy. And hopefully we don't have to see Trask this year. We don't want to see that yet.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to just let him just kind of sit back. I'm not comparing him to Patrick Mahomes, but that's kind of along the lines of what they did with Patrick Mahomes, where they just, you didn't have to really worry about, he didn't have to worry about being out on the field. He could just kind of learn and get those mental reps and pick up the speed of the game. The one thing that I keep hearing about Trask, and I don't know if you guys want to kind of comment on this, is that he's very sharp, as far as the books and stuff like that. I know it's not playing the game. I know it's not even preseason or any of that other stuff, but just a lot of the things that he's doing to prepare is, really being noticed by the coaching staff.
Yeah, I mean, here I'll jump in first. So Trask, to me, his biggest strength of where he fits into the offense is his bucket throws. And by that, I mean those 50-50 balls, putting a little bit of touch on it to let guys like Mike Evans go get the ball. To me, when I was watching Trask and plus I'm sure he's got plenty of thoughts on this as well with all of his film breakdowns over at Real Bucs Talk. But I mean, Trask, to me, I think the short game was his biggest weakness in terms of reading defenses. It's one of those where he would see a pre-snap read and get that ball out quick, probably before he saw someone roll or understood exactly what the defense is doing. So when you talk about Patrick Mahomes, Gene, he came out and he said his rookie year, he didn't know how to read a defense. And I think that's going to be Trask's number one priority this year. It sounds like he's got the playbook, but can he recognize defenses? We saw that be Jameis Winston's Achilles heel. Will it be his?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at Kyle Trask, and I see a quarterback that is very solid what he presents as far as throwing with anticipation, throwing with accuracy, throwing to space. He throws a very catchable ball. So he's a guy that has, the size and tools that you want. Yeah, the arm strength could be better, but it's good enough. He can make all the throws you want. I've seen it on tape. I watched pretty much every Florida game because I am a Gator fan. So I watch all his games, and he's just very impressive. Yeah, there's some things that he can clean up. Sometimes he throws it in a double coverage, triple coverage at times, just because he's trying to make a play, and plus he's getting harassed a lot from his offensive line. So I think there's a lot of potential there that can be worked with. I'll just say this: he is a perfect fit for what the Buccaneers like to do. The Bucs like to throw it downfield. He is a very good deep ball thrower. So he fits what they want out of the quarterback position. He's tough. He can take hits. He can throw under pressure. He can throw with accuracy while getting hit. So I've seen that, multiple times.
Right.
So yeah, there's a lot of potential there. Again, they're not, thinking about what Kyle Trask is right now. They're thinking about what Kyle Trask is going to be 2-3 years down the road. With lots of development. And that's where that's why they picked him so high in the second round. Basically a third round pick.
Yeah. And again, he's one of those guys I've gotten to see him maybe 5 times this year. And the one thing that I did like about him is he does not put a lot of pressure on the defense. He doesn't, turning the ball over in inopportune times. His decision-making was pretty solid from what I've seen. I think any of the flaws that people want to talk about with Kyle Trask, they're coachable. Mm-hmm. I haven't seen anything physically from him where you're like, oh no, this guy just isn't going to make it. I believe that, with time, he can progress and actually be an NFL quarterback that could lead a team. So, and speaking of leadership, I think he has really great leadership as well from what I've seen from him. There have been games where, he's kind of brought everybody together and, they've gone down and won a few games. So I'm excited for him. And I think this is the best place for him would be, especially where he was picked, to be able to sit back and not have to deal with the pressure of having to come in and produce right away. So I think this is a great spot for him.
And not only that, he's been a backup in all 3 levels now, essentially. He was a backup in high school to a top-level recruit, and we see in today's society when that happens, you transfer.
Yeah.
And he didn't do that in high school. He stayed at his school. got mainly played, blowouts. When I think it was De'Aaron King was his high school teammate.
Yeah.
Who was a top level quarterback as well. And then he goes to college, and Felipe Franks is there. He gets injured. Trask eventually beats him out for that job. So he's coming into a situation I think he's already familiar with. I think it speaks a lot to his character. And I think that, along with his work ethic, is what's going to make him more than his talent per se. And we already see that with what Brady's done with his career. I'm not saying Trask is going to be Brady, but I'm trying to say that's the work ethic he needs to have to compensate for his lack of Mahomes-like traits.
Yeah. And kind of going back to what you're saying, KB, which is really great. That's important, that mental toughness. Not letting your ego override everything else that you're trying to do. Being able to just kind of, okay, I'm the backup right now. I can learn when I get my opportunity, I'm going to make the most of my opportunity. And I always appreciate that in players. We saw that with Lavonte David, where Lavonte David didn't just come out and be the perennial starter. He came out, he had an opportunity, he made the most of his opportunity, and the rest is history. We've seen that with players in the Buccaneers organization just throughout the years. And I'm hoping, because we've had bad luck with quarterbacks historically, that this would be the guy that they bring him along the right way, which looks like starting out. We're seeing that, where you bring him along the right way, and then he can come in and contribute when his time comes.
Yeah, and I'll just add, there's a lot of lazy analysis out there on Kyle Trask. A lot. Like they look at his tape and like, oh, this guy can't throw with velocity. He sucks. That's pretty much all it is. So I mean, there's just, and plus you have the Florida Gator thing, that goes into the analysis. And then, I mean, it's a lot of things that I saw. Oh, he can't move in the pocket. He's not athletic enough. He can't, make throws on the run, all this nonsense. No, he can do everything you want out of a quarterback. I've seen it. I watched it plenty of times. So the guy's going to be just
gives you hope for the future. He's a great decision maker. And I think that's something that doesn't get talked about enough, is his decision-making skills, especially under pressure, because there were times where he was on the run and, he made great plays.
It just goes to this whole narrative. Oh, we got to have a mobile quarterback. You got to have this guy that can do the dual threat thing. Pocket quarterbacks are the thing of the past. Just get rid of them. They're dinosaurs. Yet we have one on our team named Tom Brady, who's been doing it for 20 years.
We won.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, it's funny to see, and these are top outlets that are doing a lazy analysis, like Draft Network.
This is in the
PFF. A lot of people who are doing with lazy analysis that I see, and I'm like, no.
Can I touch on this real quick, Plus? So there's an article that I shared earlier that Jake Arians commented on, and it was basically an article based off of the Dan Patrick Show, where one of his Danettes brought up basically something in regards to the Aaron Rodgers situation. And in the title of the article that he brought up, it says report. This is a report that he's reading. And Dan goes on. Dan Patrick, to those who don't know, he was one of the big ESPN analysts. He was the guy on SportsCenter that we all saw, 10, 15 years ago. And he is on this big kick now that basically, when we read all that, opinion is not a report. When you say report, that gets the clicks. Opinion, not as much. More people in this business are opinion people, not just reporting. That's where we get lost on our compass a little bit. You need one source or two sources or many sources. You can't just go, I'm hearing. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, this is clickbait. This is what they want. All of these big mainstream places want you to click on their articles because they get advertising money for that. So when you click on those articles, you support them. And you need to support people who are actually doing the legworks behind them. I'm going to shout out some people in the local Cover the Bucs, the Greg Almonds, the Rick Strouds. These are the boots on the ground who, yes, Adam Schefter might, break 90% of the Bucs news, but those 10%, Rick Stroud was hiding out in bushes at Berkeley Prep in order to get that information out to people. That he had pictures. You don't see that in today's media. And I think we need to get back to that old school way of, having these face-to-face interactions. That's another big topic. We saw what happened with the famed female tennis player who has to sit out because she doesn't want to deal with the mental stress of talking to reporters. So now that's in the media of, should players have to talk to media members, or do they have to be on Zooms? Do they have to be? I think you need to have people on the ground, and that's up for debate if you want to have players to have mandatory media sessions, but you need to have people accessible to give us those real human stories that we need.
You're spot on. You guys are both spot on. I mean, I don't know if you've been following the press conferences since COVID have been utterly ridiculous. I would say 60% of the questions asked have been utterly ridiculous, have nothing to do with the sport, nothing to do with the game, nothing to do with training, nothing to do with any of that. Just a whole bunch of fluff. What is the term? There's a term, yellow journalism, where you create sensationalism. It's not even considered real journalism. And that's kind of where we are. That's what sells papers. That's what sells media. That's what gets clicks, as you guys are talking about. And this is why you have so many people that's why ESPN is struggling, because people are getting away from that. People want to go to local sports media, places like Bucs Report, places like Real Bucs Talk. I mean, the fact you and Mark go out and do what you do, and you guys are getting that out to the people. I mean, that's vital right there. These are vital things. And, I can't thank you guys enough for what you do. And it doesn't go unnoticed.
Yeah. And like KB said, I mean, yeah, you have these people out there that are just, again, it's about clicks, it's about follows, and the information doesn't have to be correct. There's no.
I'm sorry, that was incorrect, and move on.
Yeah, I mean, there's no need for fact fighting. There's no need for mentioning of sources, because everyone wants to be first. Everyone wants to have, that lead story and be talked about. And yeah, I mean, it's just a shame. And now we're seeing it in draft analysis, and that's what I was getting to. It's like, no, have you watched Kyle Trask? Have you watched, 4 or 5 games to really make an opinion? Oh, okay, yeah, his arm might not be strong on this particular play, but you look at some other games and he's moving to his left or right and throwing lasers in the back of the end zone. It's like, okay, yeah, I mean, his arm's good enough.
Would you say his best game in college was the Alabama game from last year, or is there enough? I mean, in terms of like against a higher level competition?
I think Alabama was really good. That was top level stuff. Like what he was able to do and the pressure that he faced in making high end throws consistently. I thought it was really good. Yeah, there were some times where you would have liked to maybe have a play back, but overall he was really good. I would say, what was another good? I think the 2019 LSU game was really, really, really impressive. That would probably be his best.
I need to watch that one, because I when I was evaluating Trask, and it was something even before the draft that I even brought up on Twitter, I was like, I couldn't get that buzz of the Oklahoma game out of my head. Right. I remember coming home from a wedding event, and that was on. It was about halftime, and I'm like, oh, okay, what's going on here? So they showed all the highlights, and I'm just like, okay, this guy can't be. At that point, he was a Heisman candidate. So it was. I couldn't get that bad taste in my mouth, and I'm guilty. I see some of these clips that are coming out of practice. He's looking pretty good. Granted, it's underwear football,
right?
Underwear football. He still looks pretty good.
Yeah. And to the Oklahoma point again, he was missing half of the roster. He wasn't with his guys, and a lot of the Gator players didn't want to be in that game. So there wasn't the motivation factor. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't look good. Yeah,
he played was, astounding to me. That says a lot about him, because all these players, they're sitting out.
He was focused. I mean, he was in, his head was in the game. It wasn't. Yeah, exactly. And that's what you want in your quarterback right there.
Yeah, and I would definitely look at the 2019 LSU game. I think that's probably his best game I've seen. I mean, he was really good in that one. So yeah, if you want a tape to watch of Kyle Trask, go check that one out. Really good stuff.
All right. So let's move over to running back. That was the next position in Evan's article here. And again, guys, if you're just joining us, we are talking about who will win the Bucs open roster spots. I know there aren't that many of them, but it's kind of cool to talk about this because we are approaching OTAs, and this is something that we will eventually have to discuss. And why not get the jump and get to some of the guys that are going to be out there in camp, the camp fillers, I guess would be the term you would. Did I just make that up, or you guys already? I don't
A lot of these guys are just bodies. I mean,
yeah, they're bodies. They're just bodies. But the cool that I like about this is with Bruce Arians and the large coaching staff they have. A lot of these players will get exposure, whether it's good or bad. So that's something maybe that may open some eyes somewhere for them on down the road. But again, if you guys get a chance, bucksreport.com, go out there and check out some of these articles. Really good articles. I thought that Evan Winter did a great job with this. But moving on to the running back position, we already know you've got Lombardi Lenny, and then you got my guy, of course, and I'm the president of the Rojo fan club. I'm still bullish on Rojo. I know the blocking hasn't been there. I know the hands hasn't been there, but just the way this guy runs the ball and when he's healthy, you can't help but love it when he's on the field. So we've got him, and I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought. So so the candidates here for this RB4 running back 4, Keyshawn Vaughn, CJ Precise, and Tremaine Pope. And I think Keyshawn Vaughn is got this personally. I don't know what would change that, but KB, I'm gonna start with you.
Next. Because I want to get onto this receiver kick. I don't know if you all have been on my Twitter lately, but I had a big conversation with people about that wide receiver 5 and 6.
Yeah, I agree with KB. I think running back is pretty much a lock. It's going to be Rojo, Leonard Fournette, Keyshawn Vaughn, Gio Bernard. That's settled, done.
Even if something were to happen, you can get someone, like let's say hypothetically Rojo or Lenny were to get injured during the preseason. You can get another decent free agent running back for literally nothing, for the cap cost of like $200K once you cut someone to replace.
Yeah.
All right. That was fast.
Hey, we gotta make up time. We took a lot of time on.
We're gonna take extra time on wide receiver 5 and 6.
There you go. Yeah,
all right,
guaranteed.
Wide receiver 5 and 6. We've got Jalen Darden, Tyler Johnson, Jaden Mickens out, Justin Watson, Cyril Grayson, Josh Pearson, Travis Johnson, TJ Simmons, and John Franklin.
So I've seen articles too. I've seen people talk about this in podcasts. I've seen articles on this. I've seen tweets about this. Apparently Tyler Johnson is not making our roster this year. I leave it to you all.
Pewter Report. Yeah.
Well, it wasn't just them though. Like
I know.
What are they basing this on?
Well, if you listen to the Pewter Report podcast, they basically just said that this. I mean, it was a clickbaity title, but once you listen to it, John and all of them were just like, "No, like this is ridiculous. Like he's just not going to play special teams. Let's just be real." But I've had people tell me Jaden Mickens is going to make this roster over Tyler Johnson because of his special teams ability.
Wow.
What special abilities?
Special teams abilities.
Special.
I mean, he is a good gunner. I mean, he does get down.
Yeah. Just keep the ball away from his hands.
I mean, he does miss a couple of tackles too, but yeah, I mean,
I'm sorry, I just don't see it.
Yeah, I've even seen people saying Scotty Miller might be a practice squad player. Granted, these are people way beyond. But there's some educated people out there trying to explain to me that Tyler Johnson's roster spot's in jeopardy.
No.
That's all I'm saying. Some educated people that I've interacted with, and they know football at a pretty decent level for me to interact with them as much as I do.
That is incredible. I'm trying. Okay, so and I can't get off the subject. I'm sorry, I can't. Jaden Mickens. How is Jaden Mickens? I'm sorry, I just don't see. Even as a returner, I question his decision making. I've watched, and that's something I really did in the offseason a lot, is watch some of these kick returners, the really classic kick returners that this is where I'm going, this is when I'm going. And when he gets the ball, it's like He's still thinking.
Well, to his credit, during the playoffs, he had a couple really nice returns.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give the guy any slight. Like, he played great as a returner in the playoffs, but if you look at his entire resume and everything he's done,
exactly. And that's what we need.
I mean, Jalen Darden can take his job for all I care. Like, but people are also saying Jalen Darden is going to be above the depth chart of Tyler Johnson. Tyler Johnson, if he were to be a receiver, they're saying would be wide receiver 6. And while I think Darden will be great, I think he needs to master special teams, because if we're just strictly talking wide receiver talent, he's got the speed, he's got the stopping on a dime ability. But I mean, is he going to be a week one? I mean, we saw what Tyler Johnson did in the playoffs. He won. He got the 2 plays. He got the Saints that third down catch. Yep. Ridiculous. He got the pass interference call on the Packers to win the game. This guy, he knows what he's doing.
Right.
He was a 5th round pick, but if you told me that they drafted Tyler Johnson in the 3rd round and Keyshawn Vaughn in the 5th round, I think it would have been the same thing.
Right. And this right here, I want to say this. The one thing that really hurt Tyler Johnson last year was COVID. The fact that you didn't have camp, the fact that he couldn't get in there and work out, as a rookie, work out and get up to speed better, get coaches to get a better look at him and see what you're getting. I think that's kind of what hurt him last year. But I think you're going to see, they're going to put all this to rest. And in my opinion, all this will get put to rest.
And I got to say one thing before I hand this over to Pless. Bruce Arians himself, when asked why Tyler Johnson wasn't attending OTAs, he said he is not a dumbass. He was practicing with Brady. He's a pretty good quarterback. Probably should be practicing with him. So that probably tells you Bruce Arians kind of gave him the wink, wink, okay, go practice with Brady because that's the practice you need. To you, Pless.
Yeah, let me just silence all this madness real quick. It's going to be Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, Scotty Miller, Tyler Johnson, Jalen Darden. End of story. That is your 6 receivers on this team for the 2021 season. The rest of the guys, I wish you the best of luck somewhere else. That's case closed. Now, I can see where injuries could take place. Okay, maybe some of these other guys step in, but you got to keep Tyler Johnson. That guy's a stud. He's the only guy that can play that Chris Godwin role if Chris Godwin goes out. Mm-hmm. So you got to have him in there. He will learn how to play special teams. If that's what it takes to make the team, he will do it.
Put him on kickoff coverage. They go in the back of the end zone anyway.
Right. Right. And if he has to be a gunner or something, play in line on punt coverage, he'll do it. Jalen Darden should be a stud on special teams. He'll be able to take that role. And the way he's playing as receiver, which shows up on tape, guys, he's a good damn receiver. 19 touchdowns in 9 games. That explains it all. So, yeah, receiver is set. Let's just leave it at that. And case closed.
Deepest position in the NFL. In any position.
Right. And for those that don't agree with this, Tyler Johnson is the future of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They will need him, especially with the salary cap, which we'll talk about later on in the show. But with the salary cap coming up 2022, Tyler Johnson is going to play an integral part on this offense next year. Trust and believe, barring any injuries.
And I got to know who said Scotty Miller on the practice squad. Like
that was a troll. That was not someone I trust, but I'm saying that was thrown out there by multiple people that concerned me.
Probably Saints fans.
Send that conversation to me when you get an opportunity, like on Twitter or something, because I got to get involved in that, because Scotty Miller is like, he's too important for this team. I mean, he
made market improvement last year alone. I mean,
remember when he was a scared little rookie? Like, he was afraid to catch a punt or take a pass and run 5 yards. He would literally run out of bounds after he caught a ball in the preseason. And this man basically owned the last 2 minutes of every game he ever played in the half.
Right.
First half Scotty Miller, or 2 minutes Scotty. How about that?
There you go.
Offense, 2 minutes Scotty.
And he's still got room to grow. Like, this is just the beginning for him. Like,
that's literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
He's tiny. Fast.
All right. So let's move over to, and I'm sure you guys have already got this locked down, of course, but tight end. The tight end position, where the candidates, Tanner Hudson, who's probably got this locked up, Cody McElroy, and Jarrell Adams. I don't see unless Tanner Hudson has a monumental meltdown. I don't see him not being that tight end number 4. I just don't.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say like it really depends on if they keep 4 tight ends. Like they might not.
They might not.
Yeah, they might go with 3, and maybe Tanner goes on the practice squad, or But I would say Tanner is the favorite if there is going to be 4 tight ends, just because he knows the system. He's improved as far as a route runner, receiver. He's still working. Yeah, he's still working on the blocking aspect, which I think is coming. He's obviously learning from Cam Brate. He's basically Cam Brate 2.0. That's what he's trying to emulate. So I think it's pretty much locked up. Again, the other 2 guys I'm intrigued by because they have size and they have blocking ability. So maybe they want one of those guys instead of Tanner Hudson. And, maybe it's time for Tanner to move on and find a bigger opportunity for himself.
Yeah, but I think it's his job to lose in camp.
Agreed.
I mean, based on what I see, his chemistry with Tom Brady, having played with him and knowing the system, as you mentioned. KB?
Even more than his relationship with Tom Brady, how about his relationship with Ryan Griffin? Because Griff is not going to let this guy not make the 53 by feeding him the ball in the preseason. Game 3 of the preseason, I'm guaranteeing you Ryan Griffin and Kyle Trask are in 50-50 those snaps. Second half, when Ryan Griffin plays, it's going to be Tanner Hudson for 200. Calling it.
I love it. All right, and a really interesting position here, the offensive line. Josh Wells, Brad Seaton. I think that's. I don't know.
Evan has them both making it in because it's just like we just don't have. No one in the NFL has tackle depth. Let's be real. We kind of know what our interior is going to look like. Hainsey's going to be that center/swing guard. He may even be the 6th, offensive lineman in like a tight end, role if he's on the field type thing. So Wells and Seaton, Bruce Arians and the O-line coaches love them. They've been around for years. I think Seaton sat out last year and he's apparently is still in good shape. So they like his outlook. So I think those 2 are just like locks. I don't think you're going to see a crazy surprise, roster move on the offensive line.
I really don't. And in the years that we've known each other, I never thought I would be saying this about the offensive line depth. I never thought I would be able to actually use that phrase, offensive line depth, because it sounds so foreign to me.
Yeah, Yeah, no, I know. We've been through a lot, Gene. With the Anthony Collins dilemma and some of these other guys, J.R. Sweezy.
Jesus,
didn't work out. I'm probably forgetting other names that we've.
Yeah, we definitely are. When Lovey blew up that offensive line and basically just everything had to start all over again, that was.
What was the name of that Saints guard that we lost to Mercer?
That was
Nix.
Yeah, Carl Nix. Yeah. He was going to be good, and we've had some bad luck with guards. You go from Aaron Sears to Carl Nix, Dan Bunning, so just a lot of bad luck there. But yeah, I would agree that those guys probably make the roster. It depends on how many offensive linemen they keep. Is it going to be 9 or 10, or is it going to be more because you're playing 17 games and you're going to need that O-line?
Where do you ship if you're the coach, Pless? Where do you shift that depth then? If you're like, okay, we're going to go with 3 tight ends this year, or what, let's say 3 tight ends. Where do you shift that depth through to? When you look at this team and how this team is built, where do you shift that over to?
Well, I think first you look at offensive line, and then you look at, your linebacker position. How many linebackers do you want to keep for special teams? Secondary also, like how many corners do you want to keep? It goes to like safeties, etc. So yeah, it's a good question. Do you keep now? Bruce Arians is usually a guy that keeps 4 running backs, so I would expect that to happen. Receivers, I think he's been anywhere from 5 to 7. It really just depends on how satisfied you are with your special teams group, and then the backups that are at offensive line, defensive line. Do you keep 5 defensive tackles or you keep 6?
Because you mentioned something really interesting when you talked about tight end, and we know that Bruce Arians, if it's Bruce Arians running the whole show, tight end depth, I don't know. I would kind of question that, but with that marriage with Tom Brady and Byron Leftwich, I could see 4 tight ends just because of that, and the way that Tom Brady utilizes the tight end position. So we'll see how that all turns out. So next position, this will probably take about 2 hours. Hopefully you have extra time. We're going to talk about the defensive line.
I love Evan. He put open position. None. The candidates. None.
There really isn't.
I love
Bro,
you.
I mean, if you could give me a name out there, if you've got a name for me here.
See, this is for inside defensive linemen. So, I mean, he named everyone. He's got Sue, Villa, Golston, Nunez, Roches, McClendon, and O'Connor mainly for special teams. So,
Right.
I don't even know who else. I mean, I guess what's his name? Who we drafted in the 6th round last year from Nebraska?
Yeah, Khalil Davis.
Khalil Davis, maybe. Like, and that also depends on who you're keeping in general. I don't think any other team in the league's gonna go crazy for Khalil Davis on the waiver wire. So he may be even a practice squad guy that makes it.
Yeah, should be interesting to see how that all plays out.
Mm-hmm.
The next position probably take even longer. Outside linebacker.
Open position, none. The candidates, none.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty much case closed. I mean, you look at JPP, Shaq Barrett, obviously done. Anthony Nelson's going to be on the team. You have Joe Tryon, who's going to be on the team.
Yeah.
So really, it comes down to, do they keep a 5th one? And I don't know if they will do that. Again, you have Quincy Bell, you have Cam Gill.
Yeah.
Trying to think.
You can also rush Devin Wright too if you really need stuff. I mean,
right.
If you need to get by a game.
I know the coach came out, said he wanted to keep 5 because he really likes Cam Gill and his athleticism. But yeah, it's going to be uphill battle because you have so much flexibility with those first 4. I mean, all those guys can play inside too. That's the great beauty of it. Joe Tryon, he can play a 5 tech. He can play 3 tech if he wants to. Anthony Nelson, same thing. He can play inside. So
right.
There's just a lot of extra depth there. Shaq Barrett, JPP, they've rushed from the inside. Pretty much unicorns. They can do whatever you want. And really the question comes to the next position, inside linebacker. That's where all the battles are.
Before we move on, Pless, have you seen The Longest Yard with Adam Sandler?
Yes, great movie.
So Cam Gill to me is half a sack. So when Chris Rock is trying to recruit all the inmates and they're trying to look at the the stars, so half a star.
Yeah.
Cam Gill, that's all he got was the half a sack last year. That's all that's memorable about him.
Yeah. Hey, it was a big sack, but hey.
I think Sue did all the work though.
I mean,
Sue gets the 5-star on that one.
That's what she said. But anyway. Anyway, yeah.
All right, so inside linebacker. Now we do have something to talk.
Now this is fun. This is gonna be a fun one.
So we've got KJ Britt, Grant Stewart, and Joe Jones. And I'm gonna start with Joe Jones. Do you see him an opportunity for him to get a position or latch on with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
Who? Joe Jones? Never heard of him. So KJ Britt and Grant Stewart, from everything I read and hear, because I'm obviously not in Tampa at the moment, everything I read and hear is that KJ Britt's getting the green dot pretty much in practice these days. So it sounds like he's got a grasp of everything. He's the one who they trust. I think he's going to be ginormous special teams help. So I think he's there to go. And Grant Stewart, Mr. Irrelevant, love the hair. If we're going to keep him, I think he's got to be that 53. He's going to be like that last guy to make the roster, and it's going to come down to special teams to him. Because I think KJ Britt could offer more if he needed the spot start. But Stewart, I mean, he's not the biggest guy, he's not the fastest guy, he's not the strongest guy, but he's a guy who does a lot of stuff on special teams well. So he's kind of that safety linebacker hybrid. So if he can maybe show some versatility, Gene's favorite word, that can help him.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you're going to need to see that from a lot of players if they're going to make this team. And Pless will tell you that's been one of Jason Light's calling cards, is players being versatile, not just being pigeonholed into one position, but being able to do multiple things to help the team.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, versatility is very big in today's NFL. The more you can do, the better off you are. But looking at this position, obviously, Devin White, Levante David at the top. Kevin Minter is probably a lock because of his just leadership, veteran play. A guy who's played before because of injuries, and he's also good on special teams. So those will be your first three, and then KJ Britt most likely will be that next guy, and then the fifth spot is really up to Grant Stewart if he can play lights out on special teams and beat out a very good special teamer in Joe Jones from Denver. It'll be an uphill climb for him, and I agree with Ken. He will be that 53rd guy if he's going to make it. So he's going to really have to show like good coverage skills and some just really winning with instincts if he's going to make this team.
Maybe some blitzing ability too. I think could be big for him and Britt to display.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I forgot Joe Sitchy's still on this team, so it's probably the end of the line for him, just because he can't stay healthy, unfortunately.
Yeah. Jack Sitchy or
Jack Sitchy. I'm sorry, not Joe.
He might as well be Joe Schmo at this point.
Joe on the mind.
But he's had some really unfortunate injuries. If you look at his college career, then you look at, just watching him on that kickoff return where his elbow basically goes this way. Yeah. How does that happen in football? And it was also in a meaningless point of the game. Yeah. That just tells you that this guy, I'm sorry, Jack, that we even messed up your name at this point, but man, you got to be healthy.
Yeah. That's right. The best ability is availability.
Yeah.
So,
and that goes to WhatYaHeard too. And that's why they might keep 4 tight ends, because if OJ can't stay healthy, then you got to have that extra tight end.
I am praying to NFL Jesus that we can see
no more beer for you next year.
Yeah.
I'll say this: if he stays healthy, we got a really good damn chance to win.
And maybe for him,
maybe undefeated.
That is what I'm hoping for. I want to see him play one full season, 100% healthy. I just want to see what he can do. I want to see what his potential really is, because what we've seen from him is he gets on a roll, he gets going, and gets injured, and that's it. That kills the run. Then he may get off to a slow start. Last year, he really didn't get off to a slow start. I thought, man, the way he was playing, that defensive coordinators had to be having nightmares about having to deal with this guy on a regular basis.
Yeah, but can we talk about this year, how the two of the tight ends became the highest paid tight ends in terms of money? If OJ plays a full season healthy, he might be something, because the thing is, we can name the good tight ends in the NFL on these two hands here. There's not many of them. Teams want them too.
I don't think he has that kind of leverage, only because of his injury history.
Hunter Henry only had maybe 1 or 2 good years in LA.
Yeah. And I totally agree.
He's coming off on an injury too.
Got overpaid. Yep.
Yeah. So,
and also let's talk about Jonnu Smith. He played well and he showed potential, but he never became this fleshed out, Rob Gronkowski, Aaron Hernandez, George Kittle. He still got paid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
this is true.
They just need tight ends. The NFL wants tight ends and they need tight ends. There's not many of them.
This is true. Not quality tight ends anyway. So let's move on to cornerback. Johnny Dean had a question for you, Pless. As we saw the video. What are your thoughts on Chris Wilcox? You said he saw your breakdown, but really, what's your actual thoughts on him?
Yeah,
as if he lies on his YouTube channel.
Hey, you never know. But anyways, I think Chris he's a very heady player. I think he's smart. He's got good long speed, very athletic, good click to close. But really his again, same thing, special teams. If he can be an ace on special teams, really he was brought in to replace Ryan Smith.
That's what I'm hoping for the kid. That's all he needs to do, and he will have an NFL career. If he can learn how to play corner, he can make some money. But if he wants to play in the league, you got to be that gunner, man.
Yeah. And I think that would be a great role for him. I think he does have corner upside because he is long, he's lengthy, he's got size to go with the speed. So he's what the Bucs want in a defensive back, and they've taken this Herb Miller guy, for the last couple of years, and they've developed him. And, maybe, he's a guy that they're looking at. But again, a lot of competition there at cornerback. So you're looking at that 5th spot. It's really who's going to be that best special teams guy, who's going to be that gunner. That's really who's going to take that last spot.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Nate Brooks, and see, I'm familiar with like Nate Brooks and Antonio Hamilton. I'm familiar with those guys, but I think Herb Miller is, I see him making this team personally. He's one that I see. Chris Wilcox, again, as you mentioned, is somebody that the best, whoever the best is that gets on this team is only going to make the team better. So, I'm good with, whoever ends up, winning this battle in camp. One of the few battles that you can actually go and look forward to and say, okay, let's talk about this. Who's going to be the starter here? Because, of all the positions we've looked at, it's been lower tier depth positions that we've really been talking about. We haven't mentioned a starting position outside of any of them, to be honest. And, the Buccaneers have never been in this position before, and I don't know how to act. There's that.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, you could look at some starters that are going to have position battles. Obviously, Rojo, Leonard Fournette, that's going to be a hell of a battle. Who gets, the first reps going into the game? You could look at Jamel Dean and Sean Murphy Bunting. How is that going to shape up? How's that inside, outside position going to look? I think it's pretty much set. Jamel Dean's purely an outside corner, and Sean Murphy Bunting's going to be your nickel / outside guy when we're in base defense.
Right.
So you think SMB is going to start over Dean?
I think so. I like how he plays, and not saying Dean doesn't play great either. I just like SMB's instincts and ability to make more plays as far as breaking on the football. I think it's coming along, and I thought he really picked it up at the second half of the season last year, especially going into the playoffs. I mean, he had a hell of a playoff. I think something just clicks. I mean, the first 4 weeks of the season, I thought he was playing really well. Then he had that long layoff where things weren't working for him. And then the second half of the season,
I think they played him more to his strengths, though.
Yeah, I mean, he's ideal nickel corner.
Yeah. For me, actually, who Sean Murphy Bunting actually reminds me of is Carlton Davis. If you remember Carlton Davis from 2 years ago, what was he? The most penalized, handsy defensive back in the NFL, cleans up a little bit of technique. You got a really good, solid, maybe not a top 3 corner, but maybe a top 7. And I think that's all the Bucs really want and need. And I think Dean, to me, if we're going to say right now, I think Dean is the better outside corner right now, just because he's a little bit more steady, with the exception of double moves. I think Dean is a lot more consistent of a player. But like you said, SMB, I mean, he had all the interceptions in the playoffs. He's a handsy guy, which can be good and bad as long as they're not called. But he offers a little bit more upside. And other than, he's like the really only nickel cornerback we really have. I mean, what's the guy who's number 4?
Ross Cockrell.
Ross Cockrell, but he's not a player. Like he's there to be a depth piece, in case anyone were to go down. You can just throw Ross Cockrell out there and know what you're going to get.
Yeah, I think he is what he is. Again, decent enough. He can do the job for a minimal time.
And that's what you want. That's what he's here for. Just to kind of pick up the slack a little bit until the player comes. Like, I don't want to say a bridge player, but just basically a player out there until your starter gets back.
I think next year you're going to see a lot of secondary drafted by the Bucs. I think you're going to see at least 1 corner and 2 safeties drafted by Bowles and Co. Just saying.
Could be.
Just saying.
Yeah. This is definitely going to be the thing. One thing I kind of wanted to circle back to, I know somebody had mentioned, do you think Giovanni Bernard's pass catching as a pass catching option will free up those tight ends? I don't know how they're going to put him out on the field. I don't know how they're going to really package him, when they come out. So I can't really call that, but I will say this: whoever your favorite player is, whether it's tight end or running back, you will see them at some point in the season, and they will get playing time. So I think the days of the bell cow running back are long gone, and running back by committee is what we're looking at. So there are going to be times where you may see Leonard Fournette out there starting, but then there may be other times that you will see Rojo out there. So I'm good. I'm good with both of them. I love the running back room that we have. And Keyshawn Vaughn, I want to see more of him. I want to see what he's able to do when he's put in a good position to succeed, unlike that play that he had, which was unfortunate. But we really didn't get to see enough of him to really get to appreciate him.
Can we give Gio Bernard the best quads in the NFL award?
We can.
That picture is ridiculous.
We can. I wonder, has he been tested after that? What do you think?
Over under, yes.
Was there an envelope on his door?
Yeah, I mean, don't they do it though right before camp, like when camp starts? I don't think it's this time of year. I think they all know they basically have like a couple weeks, like when the season starts, when they're going to get tested. But yes, I think he will be tested because man, those legs.
These guys get tested often. Every one of them. I mean, Devin White, you can look at his timeline. He gets tested a lot. So, I mean,
he's a freak of nature. I mean, this is the guy that made you forget about Quan Alexander. I mean, within a couple of games.
I mean, 4.37, I think that would get you tested, especially at, his size, 6'2", 250, outrunning receivers pretty much. So
Justin Jefferson, who every analyst is in love with. Don't get me wrong, I love Justin Jefferson. I thought he was going to be I had him as wide receiver 2, actually. I remember when I had him going to the Bucs at one point and a trade up at 31. People thought I was idiotic because I thought, there was just the 3 really good receivers. I thought maybe he'd fall a little bit. But man, like to beat an NFL wide receiver, and Justin Jefferson isn't slow either. Let's not forget that. Like, he cooks some corners, and Devin White beat him by like a full second. A full second in a 40, which is what people like. That's like a good couple yards for an NFL player is ridiculous.
Yeah, and real quick to answer Will's question, I think that's what he was meaning. With Gio's pass blocking ability and then also ability to catch the ball out of the backfield, that's going to allow your tight ends to go out for routes because they won't have to stay in to block.
Right.
Gronk, WhatYaHeard, they can go down the middle of the field, occupy it, and take advantage because you have Gio Bernard who can pick up pretty much every blitz, like he's seen it all, and then he can also block and release too. So a lot of options there to work with.
And not only that, with Gio, I think what people need to temper their expectations for him in terms of like a fantasy, like he's not going to get a lot of yards. He's not going to get a lot of touchdowns. He's not going to get even probably a lot of catches. What he's going to do is basically stabilize, our third down game, which also when I think the Bucs are going to have a lot of leads this year where he may not even play that much. But I think there's going to be that point in the season halfway through before the bye week in the playoffs where Gio is going to have a huge role to free up, like Pless is saying, other people to do more valuable tasks that we haven't really been able to do because we saw Gronk. What am I? I'm a blocking tight end. It took him even a couple weeks because the protection started getting better and better. The route progression started getting shorter and shorter. So imagine if the wide receivers can go back downfield again because we have decent protection. We have a running back who can pick up the blitz where you don't have to leave in that tight end. That's options. And we know Bruce Arians wants to put 4 or 5, targets out there every possession.
And this is the beauty of it right here. You had Shady McCoy last year, and you look at his productivity last year, and then you look at Gio Bernard coming in. Even he may be on the back end of his career, but that's still somebody that gives you more production than what you had from a Shady McCoy last year. So that's definitely an upgrade. And then, like you said, there could be leads out there, and we may not see him, but I think that he's definitely going to be available and do more. Make this. It's hard to believe it, but he would make this offense a little bit more well-rounded when you have a consistent pass catcher and a consistent blocker. Because I can't say that Lenny is that much better of a blocker than Ronald Jones is.
Yeah, I mean, remember when this offense, it was pre-Bruce Arians, but remember when we have Doug Martin and, oh my goodness, why am I blanking on his name? The pass-catching running back, Charles Sims. Remember, Charles Sims isn't the most, he's not even Giovanni Bernard in terms of a talent. Just having that option is just going to get you so many easy yards, and that's basically what he did. Doug Martin would do the ground and pound. We got Lenny and Rojo. Let them do all that nasty hard work. Then when you're on third and medium, third and long, throw Gio out there, make things a little bit more simple. Let Lenny and Rojo get some rest. Get the extra pass option out there. It's going to open up a lot of things for this offense.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's going to be more dynamic for sure. And I think Gio, he'll be a guy that comes in on critical third down situations. That's really going to be his role. Like when we need to have third downs, he's going to be in there.
So I don't know if you guys saw the tweet from Tom Pelissero on May 26th about the salary cap. The NFL and the NFL Players Association have agreed to a $208.2 million salary cap ceiling for 2020.
There goes Chris Godwin.
No, there's Chris Godwin and Carlton Davis's contract. I know.
I'm joking.
Oh no, I know. You know how many people told me I was crazy saying that Chris Godwin was going to re-sign with us? You have any idea?
Yeah.
My gosh.
I don't. Again, like I tell you guys all the time, the cap space is a myth. Like Thanos is real. Like put it through your head. Thanos is a real thing. Marvel Universe is out there. It exists. The cap space, that is a mystery. Like it's
void years, baby. Void years.
Yeah, it's way out there.
Yeah,
so,
the Packers are now doing it to get Aaron Rodgers back. I don't know if y'all saw that. They created some void years for Robert Tonyan, so they freed up some money because they're trying to give as much money to Rodgers to come back.
Interesting.
Wow, that's crazy. No, I'm just looking at this. I mean, you look at Mickey Loomis and what the New Orleans Saints do year after year after year. And I guess in a sense they were kicking the can down the road. So you get to a wall and you can't kick the can down the road anymore, and you just kind of have to deal with what they're dealing with right now.
Where you choke in the playoffs. I mean,
and that didn't help matters any. I got into a heated debate with a Saints fan because he was talking about Tampa. I admit it, Tampa was bad. Tampa was bad for a long time, and the fact that the Saints squandered every single opportunity they had to go to the Super Bowl by choking in the playoffs. You guys, they should be madder than we were. All those years that we're trying to get to the playoffs. They're getting to the playoffs and choking. So, same amount of, now we have the same amount of Super Bowl appearances since 2009, I believe. Bucs, and they may have more NFC South championships. I'd rather them win the NFC South this year and us go to the Super Bowl again. I would be good with that.
Imagine losing to Case Keenum and Kyle Rudolph. Send you home on separate occasions. And Stephon Diggs was a nobody when he wasn't nobody, but he was not Stephon Diggs when that whole thing happened.
He wasn't. I think that's what elevated him to where he is. That's kind of like Mitch Trubisky was not Mitch Trubisky until he threw for 5,000 yards on Tampa, and then he was.
Remember when he was a top 2 or 3 MVP candidate the following year?
Yep.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
He was on a roll.
Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Well, guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on. Plus, tell everybody how they can get a hold of you.
Yeah, real simple. Go to YouTube right now. Type in Real Bucs Talk, one word. Hit subscribe. You don't want to miss any of the content. We got a lot more content coming. We just started our player analysis from the Bucs 2020 team. So a lot of good stuff coming there, a lot of highlights, a lot of good things that we're going to talk about. And really all I can say is this Buccaneers team is really damn good, and it's fun to watch. So yeah, check us out there. Also check us out on Twitter, give us a follow. So we're always on there sharing our content. And again, if you haven't already, go check out Buck What You Heard, subscribe, follow Ken Barrett as well. All these guys, really good football knowledge. Bucks Report. Thank you.
KB, where are you at now? How many Twitter followers do you have?
I don't know, but I'm worried about lightning wins right now.
Okay.
I'm using time. I want everyone to focus all of your energy. Put it towards the lightning.
How is that arena, by the way?
PNC?
Yeah.
Yo, it was it's a great arena. But the issue is, man, they were not hype. The first game they were pretty hype. Second game, things were not They unless things were prompted, they weren't hyped. But
Gotcha.
all I'm saying is let's keep this champ at bay. Even though I'm a Yankees fan, even that's being the case. I mean, I still want the Rays to do good. So I mean, let's get this Champa Bay back. Let's get the Lightning in the Stanley Cup Finals. Let's get them winning. Let's let the Bucks come in and the Rays come in. Let's keep this going. Let's keep this, all this good juju. Let's keep it riding.
That's right. I'm going to piggyback off of that. I want to see these teams do well, except for Stu. Stu, I don't care about you. You're a jerk. And but other than that, other than Stu, I'm excited. You got the Bucks. You've got the Lightning are doing their thing. This is a special time right now. This Buccaneers team is very special. The fact that you can bring everybody back after winning a Super Bowl is I cannot express how amazing that is. And in this era of free agency, the fact that Jason Light was able to do this, at this point right now, Jason Light is the greatest general manager in Bucs history. I'm done talking about. I can't bring up McKay anymore, just because of the way that Jason Light came in and they got this done. It just says everything about him. And, the fact that he had mistakes, he overlooked his mistakes and just moved on past them. Austin Seferian-Jenkins, just some of these other players, Arguello and, Hargraves and the mistakes that he's made, he moved them. Hey, let's go. We're going to keep going. He was focused. As Pless always says, he drafts in a vacuum. And he's just focused. That's just what he does. So, in my opinion, he will be in the Ring of Honor. I believe he would be the general manager to be the first one to get added to the Ring of Honor if any of them happen to be in there.
Not only that, but McKay didn't keep the roster that after the Super Bowl that
was Bruce Allen came in after Rich McKay.
Well, we'll give McKay the credit for building the defense.
He did, but if you look at the salary cap hell and with so much the salary cap and then the draft picks that were used to do all that stuff, just the way Jason Light after the Super Bowl has come back, he reloaded basically. He's got the same squad he had before. I mean, I cannot tell you. I mean, I don't even know if that's Hall of Fame caliber or what. I mean, because of wins and losses, but
maybe Bruce and Light win again. They have a conversation. Bruce especially, I think, has a conversation.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
And then before we go, Pless, not sure if you're going to be back in the next week or two. Where do you think Julio goes?
We're working on it behind the.
Where does Julio go?
In
your opinion, where do you think?
Man, it's interesting. I think Seattle, obviously that's been the rumor, but I think that'd be a great fit. I look at it like,
but they don't have a first. They gave up their first, so if they gave up a second, I mean that's about it, man.
I think Indianapolis makes a lot of sense.
I don't know why Indy hasn't done it yet, personally.
Yeah, I like Tennessee Titans. I think that would be fun. Him and
AJ Brown wants him.
Yeah. I think that'd be a great fit because it's a style that he likes to play. Again, play action type of system, and you got the running game, and it makes a lot of sense for Ryan Tannehill, who can just throw those accurate passes, and now you have a deep option to go down the field. I would say those two I would really like. I think Indy is really close if they get Julio Jones.
The best part is they're both AFC teams.
And then the delusional Chiefs fans that believe that he could come to Kansas City.
Yo, they almost signed Juju for like $7 million. To me, that's crazy. The fact that Juju didn't go to KC is, to me, like that alone should lower his Madden rating like 20 awareness points.
You think so?
Dude, okay, being the number 3 receiver for Mahomes, like this thing about Mahomes is going to throw for 4,700 yards. Like we can just chalk that up. Let's give Hill 1,400. Let's give Kelsey 1,000. There's 2,000 yards still on the table to be taken up. And Ben, we don't know what Ben is.
Yeah, we don't know, and they don't have a backup. They have a quarterback situation.
Imagine if Juju, let's say 1,200 yards. 85, 90 catches. Someone's going to pay him big money.
Yeah. And then Juju hasn't really been the same since Antonio Brown left.
Exactly.
He's not been that guy since Antonio Brown left. So that needs to be talked about as well.
I think Claypool's the best receiver on that roster right now. And he's the guy who I wanted the Bucs to draft so bad. Sorry. You go, Pless.
No, I was just going to say, back to like the whole Rich McKay thing, I'll just say Simeon Rice is a very, very happy man because of Rich McKay. He made him the highest paid defensive player 2 times in a row, back-to-back years, as far as contracts negotiations. So that's why we're in cap. That's why we're in cap hell. But
yeah. And I love
and trading 2 first-round picks for a grumpy receiver who was not a team-first guy, and then a coach who pretty much just destroyed the entire offense in one offseason with like 50 free agents, and then won and then went away.
Yeah, I think they also reworked Brad Johnson's contract as well. So, that added to the whole cap space thing. Probably why they drafted Chris Sims, but again, didn't work out. Should have drafted Aaron Rodgers, but
imagine telling Aaron Rodgers that if you're there at 4, I'm going to take you, and then take not only a running back in the top 4. How about the second running back on third running back, second running back on the same team as a guy who went before Caddy? And I love you, Caddy, but you weren't even the starter for your own college team.
Jesus, you're drumming up. You're really twisting a knife here, man.
Hey, but that's the thing about winning a Super Bowl. It makes everything else.
It covers over
Roberto Aguayo. We can laugh about it.
Exactly.
Let's have some fun with it. Vernon Hargraves, you went to Gaither, but or Wharton, wherever it was. Congratulations, you suck,
bro.
I would love to do a show where we just talk Bucs history.
Let's do it.
It's a lot of.
We got 6 weeks of nothing, Pless. We need content.
Yeah, and let's do that. We could talk about the lean years.
It's just a lot of fun. I would love to talk Josh Freeman and like just the whole story behind that. The story behind Greg Schiano.
Yeah,
I got some.
I can do some Schiano and Cutter
things. That's he's a Schiano guy, and
I got a lot of scoop there. So
share stories.
Well, guys, we need to get together and put our collective minds together and come up with something like this. I think this would be intriguing. I'm interested. All right. Well, we will work on that. And plus, hopefully, cross my fingers. You can come back next week and hang out with us again. And maybe we can talk about these kind of things.
Hey, sounds good, man. I'm just going to be doing more videos, just turning them out. So me and Mark got a lot of things planned. So a lot of good stuff coming.
It's all good. And this is the reason guys like these guys right here are the reason you don't even need to go to NFL Network or ESPN or any of the other places. Just come here if you want.
We do all the hard work for you.
That's right. Bucs Report, bucsreport.com. I want to shout out Smack Apparel. And we are out of here.